good drive for many of you, and it's actually pretty icy still too. So just really appreciate taking the time. We're primarily here to listen and take notes. There's going to be a little bit of presentation from our engineer, and but mostly it's getting questions, giving answers, and really discussing this. There isn't any firm plan in place. There's been challenges and issues brought up, and so that's kind of what's spurring this whole conversation. But the board is committed to not pulling the rug out from anyone. Want to make sure that people have the services that they need and everyone is as safe as we can be, and just to find something that works for everyone. So might have to get creative, but that's not unusual for us. And yeah, anything else? Just wanted to point out, this is a town hall discussion. It's not official. There's no, versus like a public hearing, that's like a legal official recording sort of thing. And so if we were to change a policy, it would require a public hearing, and then all the comments would be part of that public record. And I'll talk into a microphone from now on. And so, I appreciate all the communication we've received already via email. But just know that it's not in like an official log or anything like that. It's just helping us really understand the issue more, and so keep them coming. But I just don't want any misconceptions out there regarding that. So there is a difference hearing and town hall. Just out of curiosity, and you don't have to, of course, but please raise your hand if you're not in an SGSD.
I'm representing my daughter.
Oh, okay. Well, you count.
Sure.
No, I was just surprised there was anyone that wasn't in it. But thank you, and thanks for being here, and everyone who is in an SGSD. Clearly, it's very relevant and important that we hear from you. So, with that, I'll first hand it over to our administrator, Kristen Treble-Habersma.
Thank you, Commissioner Mills. All right, and welcome everyone. Selfishly, I asked the commissioners if I could just take a moment and talk with all of you a little bit about myself, because I'm a new county administrator. I will have been here 6 months next week, and so I just wanted to share with all of you a little bit about how I come to this work. So I wanted to share with you that I believe that community feedback and engagement are absolutely essential. So we want to hear feedback on the services that we provide within the county and how we're doing in terms of meeting the community's needs. I think conversations like this are healthy and helpful for us as county staff. We need to look at issues from all angles and all sides of the issues, and all of you can help us to do that tonight. I see my role as being one of always being curious. So always looking at the why behind things, looking at why we do things a certain way, how we could do things better, and should we be doing certain things. So that's why we're here today, is to talk about the issues with the SGSDs and to try to figure out all different sides of the issues, hear from all of you, so that can help us as the board makes decisions as we move forward. So that's all I have today. I just wanted to welcome everyone and tell you that I really appreciate you being here. I'm excited to hear from you. Today is really about learning and listening to everyone so that we can hear your perspectives. We have a number of staff here who are going to be presenting, and so we're going to kick it off with the presentation, and then we'll have time for questions at the end. So go ahead, Commissioner Gamble. Or go ahead. I am done, so I'll hand it over to you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I just want to underscore that our administrator, Kristen, has said that she likes public informed decisions. And I think those were words that really resonated with the board that are elected to represent you. And so in one-on-one meeting with Kristen initially, that was something that just saying, it really struck me when I read those words, that you like public informed decisions. And this is an opportunity for that. So moving forward, we hope as commissioners that you will see that the evidence of governance is defined by the public's input, who are huge stakeholders in the decisions that we make. So I just want to affirm the fact that what she's saying is what impressed us as well.
I did forget one thing too. So we're going to have a small presentation, and it's probably going to be most productive to get through that, and then we can fire away and ask questions. And assuming it's gonna be short enough, right? So, yeah, have that ensured, but I'm sure there'll be plenty of questions. Please keep them in mind, and we'll try to answer all of them. So, thank you.
And actually, Engineer Haas, why don't we start with introductions for the staff that will be presenting, and then we'll get into your PowerPoint. So go
That
ahead.
sounds great. For those of you I haven't had a chance to meet yet, my name is Robert Haas. I'm the county engineer up here. I've been up here a little over 5 years now. I do see a lot of familiar faces out there, and even some of my staff, so I'll throw that on your performance review. But, yeah, I'll be kind of guiding the presentation, and then you're also going to hear from 2 other people, maybe potentially 3 other people, but I'll let them introduce themselves.
Hey, good afternoon, I'm Roland Watkins, I'm the MIS director for the county. GIS is in our department, and mapping has a role in this process as well.
And I'm Brady Powers, Cook County Auditor, and we initially get a lot of the questions regarding the statute and the possibilities of forming an SGS district.
And I'm Bob Thompson, I'm the county assessor. I don't have a presentation, but I am here to address any questions or concerns related to the valuation of the properties.
Wonderful. All right, so we'll get this loaded, and then just to reiterate, some of the points you heard, if there's something you want like clarified, because I want to make sure we get through the information. There's just a little background on what a subordinate district is, how it's established, how they're created, where we're at, and then some of the things that we see kind of on our end, why we're at this point, and then also understanding why you all are here as well. And so there's a ton of snacks back there. I'll also head that off, where please eat them. Grab some as we're here. This is very informal, that you don't have to come to a microphone to chat. If you have a question, try and hold it to the end unless it's something, quick and clarifying, maybe you see on one of the slides. So,
Like, is that a 3 or an 8?
yeah. I don't want to get stuck on slide 4 and 45 minutes of of our time goes by. I know we're only slated to go until 5. We can go a little over 2, that's fine. We have a very big room of people. This is great. I don't know what other topic has attracted quite this. Maybe old truth and taxation meetings. I don't. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So let's be friendlier than those, and we'll be fine. So, okay.
Robert,
Yeah.
I have one question.
Yeah.
The decision was made to not live stream this. It will be online in 12 hours. It's being recorded.
Yes.
And the question I have is, how many of you would not have come here if it were live streamed?
I can't hear you. What did you ask?
If this meeting was live streamed, would you still have come now, here, in person? Okay, there we
That's
are.
what we like to hear, because we thought this was better. That was why we made the decision we did. This is a conversation, and that's better done like this.
Face to face, yeah.
Hands down. Yeah. So.
Could I comment, though, that there were quite a few people for whom were not able physically to be here, so live streaming they would have participated and would have loved to have done so if that were an option.
Pros and cons, absolutely, and that's why we opted to record it, and at least say, well, yes, you're not here with it. And the live stream component as well, there's still not that interaction piece. So you're just watching it, and maybe you could text somebody, I guess, fine. But that's kind of why we made the decision to at least record it. But I'm happy nobody didn't seem to be forced to come. You all wanted to come. That's wonderful. It's great news. Okay.
I've come across an international border to be here, as I'm a property owner. I would not want to do it over YouTube or something.
Right.
There we go.
Fair. Okay.
Get it.
Good. All right, here we go. Subordinate districts. You already know why we're here. It works from over here. That's great. So it looks like a lot. There's not a lot of slides in this, but like I said, we're going to go over the purpose of these, how they're set up, how they operate in practice. Some of the reasonings we have. We have 3-4 different departments now that are involved with these districts, and we each kind of have our own reasons why this works, why it doesn't work. And then opportunities presented, a potential timeline, and then we wanted to stick in some FAQs at the end. Obviously, we've received, like you've heard, a lot of emails, phone calls, correspondence, and there's a lot of similar themes through all of them. And so we did our best to try and put in as much of that as we could and address a lot of those head on. And then obviously we're gonna have time for questions and conversation at the end, so. Why do we have these? Really simple, it's a way for folks who live on non-serviced roads to get road maintenance. So what do I mean by non-service? So that's your private roads, your DNR roads, your Forest Service roads, roads that are not county roads, that we do not maintain. And that is something that I think is very important with this, is these are not county-owned roads, these are not county-maintained roads. We'll touch on it later, where if there's no bids on a subordinate district, we do not come and plow your road then. That's fact. So I just want that clarifying piece out there. How are these set up? So all of you are probably familiar or heard, it's statute 375B in Minnesota statute allows for subordinate districts to get set up. Something in our own Cook County policy was we want a lone elected person, and that election can just be you call us and say it's this person, you can do an online poll, do whatever you want, but just tell us who your roadway representative is. And then that is your one-way communication back to, at least on the tail end, with the highway department. We have a policy that was initially adopted in 2019. Recently, we did some revisions to it, so the newest one is 2024. That policy was worked through our internal highway advisory committee, which has a lot of citizen representatives on it, a couple of commissioners, and then we worked it through our committee of the whole process here, which is like a mini board meeting if you're familiar, and then a board meeting eventually to get it passed. We went through a lot of different layers in the revisions with it. I'm actually going to hand it over now to Rowan and Brady to go over some of the topics on their end.
I'm going to have to get closer.
You do you, Brady, you do you.
Yeah.
Watch the board.
Yeah, yep, that's the end of it. So,
You want that? That's a
How close do you need to be, Brady?
well,
I got you.
so I actually know this by heart, but I'll get it in right order here. So the auditor's office assists property owners in understanding the statutory requirements and defining a compact and contiguous service district. They're not all that, but that's the goal in the statute. Meaning you don't have a piece over here and then a piece over there. They're at least attached. A basic district includes properties with driveways, fire numbers, cabins that clearly benefit from the service road, but their broader definitions may include parcels with indirect access, potential access, easements, or alternate routes. This is a lot of what we talk about when people call up and establish these districts. How do I define this district? There's a lot of people that could be in this area, and I've talked to a lot of you about that. How big should it be? And then you have to convince all your neighbors if they want to be in that district. So expanding a district can lower the cost per unit, but it may be more difficult to get support for the district. So that's part of the issue. And I've talked to many of you about that. Districts may also be defined by the benefit received and excluding parcels without improvements from assessments, as happened in some. Then GIS may be asked to create alternative district maps and owner lists, and often revealing new information or overlapping efforts, and discussions may start, pause, resume as different property owners explore the roadway service options. So they're not even created, so they don't have anybody in charge, just different people in that area, all interested in the same thing. You want me to keep going?
If you want.
So Cook County, this is actually Highway Department.
Can they see through you?
I don't know.
I always been here.
Sorry, okay, well, I got a microphone. So Cook County issues bids for summer and winter maintenance at the direction of the district. Once the bids are received, the low bid is accepted. This is by state law, we have to. If there is no bidder for a district, we'll rebid the program, and that's happened a few times. Does the county perform road maintenance services in a subordinate service district? And Robbie's already touched on that. Well, no, he stated it explicitly. No, the county doesn't perform these services within an SGSD. That would take a different kind of interaction between the highway department and the DNR or the Forest Service, et cetera, so.
So why don't we do that now? Why doesn't the county take care of it?
The roads?
Yeah.
Oh, we can touch on that, we'll touch on that
Yeah.
later with some of them. It gets into kind of an underlying principle with this, it's capacity versus capability. We could plow every road in the county, but I need to double my staff. And so that's kind of where this comes from, is I agree, there are some roads that are currently service
Sure.
districts that I think would make a lot of sense to be on the county system. And we've had those conversations either with the Forest Service or with the DNR already. And you saw it recently in conversations we've had about taking over the grade in Onion River Road, where the Forest Service has sunk resources, time and effort, money, construction into those roads to get them to a standard where then I can say, bring it on. And so it's the same conversation here, and we'll touch on it later for sure. But you know, if the DNR wants to fix Irish Creek Road, and I'll just pick on that one right now, take it. I will gladly take it. I will advocate till I am blue in the face with everybody sitting up here to say this makes a ton of sense to be on our system. And so it's a great question. Yeah.
Could you explain roundabout, how much does it cost to do a mile of road?
Oh, boy. So when I was talking to the DNR, the example I gave was when we did a project, anybody familiar with West End, Pike Lake Road area? So that project, a gravel road project, culverts, major realignment though, so that's gonna increase your cost a lot. That was $1.5 million per mile of road. And so the estimate that I gave the DNR was probably $1 million per mile to fix up a road like that. Because we're talking all the culverts. I think there's at least one bridge. Is there a single lane bridge on there, I believe?
An Irish, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and so we're talking that. We're talking about, you know, we want to make sure that we have the correct amount of easement through there. We want to make sure our tree-to-tree width, that you have a 2-lane, and I'm not talking Highway 61. It'll look like it compared to what's there now, but if you think of County Road 60, County Road 45, to me, those are good examples of what I think Irish Creek Road could be like. And that's based on traffic counts, and that's based on kind of just what we need also to maintain a road like that. So, does that help?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it gives them a good place to start as well. So I saw your hand, 1 second. So the DNR did say they are open to swapping that, or to transferring that jurisdiction to us once it's fixed. And that's the big thing, is that. And so I think, I love the energy that is in here, and it's conversations like this that then if we can point now and say, DNR, locally we want this, and not just the government, but everybody that lives on it. Let's start petitioning everybody for it. Let's get that money from the legislature, let's get it fixed, and let's just be done with this. And it's the same thing with the Forest Service, and I've heard that from their forest engineers as well. Murmur Creek Road, another one, great, I think it's a great addition to our system. But there's a lot that needs to get fixed on, same things we just touched on, of the width of the road, the quality of the road, that type of stuff. But they're open to turning that over, and when we have this type of, I'll keep saying it, energy, positive energy that says, we want this, but you need to fix it, it sounds, my understanding is it becomes easier for them then to go get that money to do the work.
So fix it to whose standard?
Ours, county standard, us.
A dirt road, a forestry road.
Yes, because right now the issue we're running into on these DNR and Forest Service roads is it meets their standard for their use, which is not much. It's not meeting your standard of us that live here, that recreate here, that travel this road every single day, that have to worry about when the snowbanks get too high and these roads start closing in, am I going to come across somebody else? So that's the standard, something like that. In those comparables, like I talked about, if you think of, you know, some of our busier dirt roads, County Road 60, County Road 45 are two that come to mind, you know, that can kind of give you an idea of what we're looking for, to an extent.
If you have a question, I want to keep on the same thread.
Sure.
But I'm here to advocate for the keeping of our existing functional and working SGSD.
Sure.
And I keep getting diverted by way of, and I said it in my letter, shifting rationales of different why we should close these existing SGSDs.
Right.
I've heard from your interviews and the news reports and the various meetings of the committee of the whole, from Ann, you came and met with us, I appreciate that, from, I believe it's Diane, you wrote to me, and I hear, well, we're trying to develop this, well, we'd like to develop this, but we can't do this. I understand that, but I understand that that is probably an internal issue to your accepting, and that's a policy that, the convenient part about this is that you folks up here that are here, if you don't change, if you don't like the rules and the laws of how you administer this SGSD in this county, you have the ability to change it. You're the lawmakers. Now, what I might recommend to you personally is that, because I have developed some property in the day, I would submit to you to do two things. Number one, when you have a community that wants to create an SGSD, change your application process and do it with an MPCA model. If I own a property, or I purchase a property, and I have to do a gas station cleanup, I hope I'm talking loud enough so everybody can hear me. But if I have to do an MPCA, which is the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, say I've got a bad property that's got a leaky whatever, and I need the MPCA to come help me. Well, I'm hiring an engineer, I give that application, and generally the MPCA will say, okay, we looked at the scope of this, and we feel it's gonna cost us $12,000 worth of time. So we're gonna tell you, deposit $12,000, for that $12,000, we're gonna give you 100 man-hours of our time, lawyers, engineers, whatever we need to do. And if it goes above and beyond that, we'll bill you at $100 an hour for services, $150, whatever you need to cover your costs. Why don't you do that with the SGSDs? Because I hear time and again, well, we tried to do this, but it never happened. Now I've lost out on this time. And I appreciate that, because that comes away from your general budget. I feel for it. Second piece of the puzzle is, I hear with the GIS department and the MIS, well, we've got to do mapping. We've got to make these standards. Again, whenever I have platted a piece of property, no city engineer has come to me and said, well, I'll have to do this and I'll have to do this. They go, is your homework done? They look to the legal plat that the surveyor, who I have paid to prepare this, whose engineering I have done to do this, and if they say my homework isn't done, it's back to me. It's incumbent upon the applicant of the SGSD to make it right for you folks and not use your time. But I feel distracted because all I want to do is leave in place. I advocate, and I can't advocate for everyone in here. I can advocate for my neighborhood, which is Voyager Point. We've been in existence for 34 years. We're successful. We've been an SGSD longer than we've been in actual development. It was just God's forest before that. And whenever I say, please just keep, I've never been to a county meeting where people ask to be taxed more. This is fascinating to me. I really enjoy this. I mean, all we're asking you to do is please continue to pay us. And if you don't collect enough money for us, charge us more. Yeah. Just do the damn job. I appreciate that there's two arguments here. There's the existing model of keep this, and I understand and completely understand that you have a model of the applicant process.
Right.
Change the applicant process, and I think the problem's solved for you, probably 90% of your problems. Because every time I say keep our roads, I hear, well, these are our talking points, and they always include, well, this new one, and this one wants to be, and that's not my thing. Just leave us in good shape.
Right. No, and I can appreciate that, and this is something, and we'll get through it eventually, but again, it gets to that point.
Sorry, I got long-winded, thank you.
Well, it gets to the point of capability and capacity. Like I said before, we could plow every single road in the county. Happy to do it. It's gonna take a week before we get to your road. And
I
so
know you can't plow us, we have a contract.
No, but that's what I'm getting at though, is this is staff time and effort. I'm not saying we can't, it's not that this process couldn't potentially work, but as we are sitting right now, it's not on our end of things. And where we are coming from on this end is different than, and I was talking with someone earlier, we have a concern about maintenance right here, about activities happening on the road. What we are doing on this end is far more, is the administrative process. The administrative process is broken. It does not work. And we'll touch on it in a little bit here. You know, we have services, you're not guaranteed service. We're pulling data from when we actually charge people for services, and it's not even 50% of the time that someone comes up to perform summer work on your roads, related to summer work specifically, but still. And so there's more to go over, but I can understand that point of view, and that's going to be part of our follow-up, I think, once we're done here, is saying, okay, what did we hear today? Now, how do we want to go forward with this model? Because we haven't had a real opportunity to dive into this model and really explore options beyond what we currently do and really understand. We've talked high level in our departments about what it would take. So we know tentatively what it would take. But if we're talking hiring staff, that's a whole other conversation. Is it one person? Is it two people? Do you completely remove my department? I mean, you're talking, well, no, what I mean though is the people that work on it in my department, in Rowan's department and in Brady's office. That type of thing. You're gonna find somebody who's a road expert, a GIS expert, can assess your taxes and then distribute it equally to all of the districts. I don't think that one person exists, so you're still gonna involve county employees on
Are we
it.
talking about new SGSDs? or
Current.
Existing?
Current, everything.
How much work does it take for the existing SGSD on mapping people, for example?
Well, before
We've
we,
been in existence for 33 years.
Yes,
What
yeah.
excess work are we talking about?
Well, I just want to hopefully get through this.
Yes.
In case it answers questions.
Yes.
But I want to,
I mean, it's a valid question.
absolutely,
I'm
absolutely.
not sure the assessors, how much more burden it is.
Mhm. Hopefully this is going to give some more perspective. Yeah.
You're in Voyager, right?
Yes.
Well, we're over on Irish Creek, and we've got half the people up there don't ever even come up and use their cabins or their land during the winter. They don't want to pay for, I'm a year-round resident up there on Tom Lake. They don't want to pay for for 5 of us to use. I think that's probably where some of this is, from our side. is-
Oh, there's all kinds. Yeah, it's really interesting.
I'm not
Yep.
From our
To that end,
perspective,
my house didn't burn down, but you did, so I don't wanna pay for fire trucks.
I'm not
See what I'm saying?
justifying those people, I'm just saying that's what, I know, I've talked to people in my neighborhood who
Right.
don't wanna pay for plowing service year-round when they don't even come up in the winter.
Yeah, so part of the
Right.
challenge is the different SGSDs have different needs.
Right.
And so, we have restrictions, we have legal restrictions, what we can and cannot do it, as far as formation and enforcement and
Right.
all that sort of stuff. So,
Hands are tied in some
in-
respects. right?
yeah. And
Which
so
is-
just,
we'll get to.
yeah, I just want, to get through this and then we'll be able to hopefully address everything.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm from the private area.
Yep,
We do not have snow or winter, just the summer.
correct.
Now, is how many of the SGSDs actually have the winter plowing?
I
Is that not
think-
an issue for us?
Right. I wanted to say, I thought it was everybody, but it must not be everybody
No,
then.
Yeah, we're
And
not, there's
so,
one person lives there year round.
right, so then you might,
Just a few people go up.
you might be the only one without it then.
Okay, so
Murmur
that's where we,
Or
one
Murph,
size,
okay, two.
one size doesn't fit all, because
Correct.
Right.
it is summer
Yep.
maintenance, it's
Yes.
pretty
Yep.
labor-free for you guys to administer that.
Yep, they're all a little different, so it's,
Yes.
that's part of the challenge for sure.
And you almost beat us to the slide. There you go. So,
So, yeah, we'll just get through this slide quick. So there are 9 SGSDs spread throughout the county, and you can see them highlighted there. There's a wide range of characteristics. The road length, 2,000 feet, up to 10.5 miles. The year established, 1992, to the last one, 2023. And the district members can be as small as 8, or as many as 70. Combinations of winter, summer maintenance. Most districts have an established HOA. There's 259 total properties and 29 homesteads. That's our internal information.
why do you point out the homestead? Why does that matter? It's a question we get a lot when we talk services throughout the county. Commission, it's another data point.
But it does have a meaning. Our house up here is not homesteaded because you don't get any value change after, I think, 517,000 when you live up here. So that's like a meaningless data point. It's like saying how many red hats you have.
There's a tax difference for homesteaded taxes of properties and non-homesteaded properties, right?
And, yeah,
Explain how that works.
certainly there's a tax difference, but
Refer to the year-round residences?
it's just classification of properties. But where it's come up in my discussions with people is there's a part of the statute that talks about qualified voters. We've never gotten a final decision on that, and that's not really relevant today, but I think that's probably why that's up there. Is a qualified voter in the statute, is it a registered voter? That's what's in law, is registered voter. Qualified voter doesn't exist in our state election law. So we've wrestled with that issue, and we've ignored it because we don't have an answer, so, but it's on there. So then, did you want to talk a little bit? I think you're, okay. So this is if dissolution, why is the county recommending dissolving the program? Existing HOAs and POAs, property owner associations across the county, perform similar road maintenance activities with no county involvement. The program affects a very small percentage of people in the county. There's 259 properties in the program. It represents less than 4% of all properties in the county and are less than 20% of the properties
That's a 10.
I'm sorry. Sorry?
Is that, or am I?
Less than 10%
Let-
of properties.
Thank you.
Less 10% of properties on non-serviced roads. 29 homesteads in the program represent less than 2% of all homesteads in the county and less than 5% on non-service roads. Contractor reliability sits around 45%, even with a contract in place for summertime maintenance. So,
Is that the end?
some statistics.
Oh.
No.
There's only a few.
No. Why is the county recommending, we're the only county in the state with this program, expanding county resources on non-county roads? Some existing SGSDs don't meet compliance requirements, meaning compact, contiguous, private road only, etc. There are neighborhood politics that they have to deal with. There's equity between the homeowners association and the property owners association. Equity, reduced LOS.
Reduced level of service.
Reduced level of service on county infrastructure, uncertainty around what constitutes, again, a qualified voter in state statute, and subsidizing actual road authorities' jurisdiction. Anything on that? So again, dissolution. Why is the county recommending dissolving the program? Capacity, staff times, and operational demands. A compliant, risk-mitigated SGSD process would require significant staff investment, including detailed SGSD mapping, workflow integration, automatic enrollment systems, road authority permission, and a contractor agreement management. Program growth. Increased zoning density will likely drive demand for more SGSDs, expanding administrative workload. And again, why is the county recommending dissolving? Equity and values, resource allocation. Supporting and expanding SGSDs may not be an optimal use of limited county capacity when benefits accrue to a relatively small number of property owners, and ensuring high service standards. County-provided services must meet governmental standards. Achieving this through SGSDs would be labor-intensive with limited return for a broader tax base. I think this is the last one. Eliminating organizational risk. No mechanism for automatic enrollment leads to inaccurate assessments and misaligned cost distribution. Road work is sometimes performed without proper road authority authorization. 4 of the 9 SGSDs include roads the county has no authority to maintain. No mechanism ensures contracted work is completed despite county collection of funds. I'm going to pass this on.
A couple opportunities that, if this were to go away, you can choose your own contractor. We are obviously stuck with low bid requirements. When we've talked with contractors in the area, a threshold, believe it or not, is paperwork for some of them. They don't want to do paperwork, and so that's where we're stuck with only getting one bidder. That's been a comment we've received. We only get one. How would that be any different? Again, that barrier would be eliminated with that. It gives you an opportunity, one second, to negotiate directly with the Forest Service and the DNR. I know they've done that in the past on gravel prices. Sometimes if you buy directly from them, gravel or something, you can get a discounted rate. Additionally, then there's no more subordinate district fees from us. Someone had a quick question.
Yeah, hi, Dave. My name is Chris Short. Me and my wife, Allison, we have a White Pine Lodge up on the trail. I'm also a licensed general contractor. And you hinted on contractors, so I just want to stand up. And I'm really here today to just talk from a contractor standpoint, give you my real world example. A lot of you homeowners probably don't know what we deal with from a contractor standpoint. You're hearing from stuff from the county. But I did want to talk about it real quick. I got a couple notes. So you talked about the paperwork thing from other contractors. Obviously, you talked a lot more than I do. I'm just coming from my point of view. Me and my guys, I employed 3 guys, including myself, so there's 4 of us total. So this program does create a lot of jobs and stuff too as well. And we service 2 of the SGSDs in the winter, Voyager Point and Little Ollie. So me and my guys, we do about 25% of these in the winter. So I guess we kind of represent a very large part of it. And you keep talking about the paperwork involved. I'm going to go on the other end and say it's the greatest program ever from a paperwork standpoint. I don't
Tell
know
everyone else then. It's not hard.
I did bring some real world examples, but for instance, the bid sheet that we fill out, it's 1 page. The bottom of it, where I put who submitted it, takes up about 25% of that page. There's hardly any paperwork involved in bidding on these things. In fact, I think the hardest part about bidding on them is finding how to bid on them, which I think would be a great point to get out to the public more. There's a lot of contractors up here that are looking for work. I did print off another thing involving that. My first communication with Matt this year, who's my point of contact on this program, my first communication with him this year was actually an email I wrote saying, how do I bid on this? I could not find anywhere how to bid on it. I was on the county website, I was looking. So there might be guys out there that are trying to bid on this and they can't find out, they don't even know how. So I think the county could put this out there more, they could get more bids from it. It's just really hard to bid on it, which is kind of the tricky part too. And then you talk about paperwork, so a couple stats on that real quick. Last year was our first year doing it, we took over for Corey Christensen. So last year, our first year, which we think there'd be a lot of questions, our first year, the startup, I had 13 emails with Matt and 1 introduction phone call. During the season, I had 7 emails with them, 2 phone calls. So that's a total of 20 emails and 3 to 4 phone calls. So that's an average of 10 emails per SGSD, 1 phone call per SGSD. So very minimal interaction with me and Matt, which was great, which is why I think this program works. This year so far in startup, there's 15 emails to start, of which is mostly about Voyager Point. We're looking to change the verbiage on sanding, back and forth emails, got figured out like that, really easy. 0 phone calls with Matt yet this year on the startup side. And now that we're in the season, we're probably halfway through plow season. I've had 0 emails with Matt, 0 phone calls with Matt. So it's an incredible, at least on our end, the 2 that we handle, minimal interaction, I hardly do anything. And then on a paperwork standpoint, nobody loves invoicing, or none of you love getting invoices from me. Neither does the county, but I send the county one email at the beginning of every month for the last month. Super simple, the day we plowed, how much snow was on it. So I sent 5 emails to the county. So I basically send them my bid sheet in the beginning. I send them an email in December, January, February, March, April. I have 6 emails I have to send to the county for an entire winter's worth of snow removal. Which is pretty awesome from a contractor standpoint. So, a suggestion moving forward would be to get this out to the public. I don't know if the contractors out there know this. I mean, the area we live in, your world, there's a lot of guys that work hard. We have contractors. I know they're hard to come by, they're hard to get. It's because we're all so busy. But, they want work, especially in the winter. So I think it's just a really important thing that it could get, you could get a lot more people if you can just make it a little more known.
Yeah.
Get stuff out there.
No, and that's a great point, and we deal with that a lot, even getting communications out, and I'll just speak from highway department perspective with projects, is there's a line somewhere we run into. So we post it in the paper, we post it on Boreal, we post it on the Facebook page. At a certain point, we're gonna start knocking on doors, and I don't have the time to do that, but it is a good point, and maybe it's something we can look at, electronic bidding. or something like that, but that could also, you know, scare other people away. So I'm happy you think the paperwork is very minimal. I appreciate that, because it is. I don't want to say it's a joke, but it's easy. And so to hear that from people, though, that's why I'm like, we can't, this is easy to do. But that's a barrier enough that I have heard from others. So that's why I wanted to mention it. There's like 3 slides if you want to wait. Okay, thank you. So timeline. Obviously, this depends on a lot of things. The program will continue through this winter and this summer. We have some follow-up, obviously, discussions that we're going to have to do and figure out the best course of action going forward.
I would just add, I predict it'll be much longer than that, just to have more discussions and figure in, but
That's the minimum.
that's as soon as, I mean, yeah, it will for sure last through that, so.
Okay, I'll jump in. And we've not, maybe our employee has, but I, as a commissioner, I've not made up my mind that this has to go away. I mean, this is the point of this public gathering, is to find out where it's working and how it's not working, because there are options out there other than eliminating the program, and I can't talk to you.
So, last one. Yeah. And then it says thank you. Promise. So this is just some of the things that, some of the questions, comments that we've received from you all in this room and folks that aren't here. You know, the very, very first one, I think that jumps to the top, and I'll let Bob touch on this, and we'll put him on the spot in a second. My property value will decrease because there's no more, quote unquote, no more road maintenance on the road. Bob.
Thanks, Robbie. So, I mean, obviously, this was brought to me just a couple of days ago, and you know, thinking about it.
Can you use a microphone?
Oh, yeah.
Hard to hear.
Thank
Thank you, Bob.
Sorry. So this was brought to my attention, you know, just in the last few days, and I kind of scratched at the surface of this, and you know, my initial answer is going to be, we don't assess properties differently, whether they're plowed through an HOA or through an SGSD, or if it's on a county plowed road. We set up a whole bunch of different layers of valuation, land tables for zoning, neighborhoods. You know, one neighborhood might be more valuable than another neighborhood. It all depends on what the sales are telling us in the market. So, you know, one thing that comes to mind, I deal with a lot of appeals. When we send out the valuation notices in the spring, we get a lot of calls with people asking about their value increases, and, you know, they're concerned about their taxes increasing. And one thing that I hear a lot is, you know, I only use my property 2 or 3 times a year. So, you know, people who are on these county plowed and maintained roads, they don't always use the properties year round. In fact, some of them, there's a gentleman who's got a $2 million property on Lake Superior. He said he comes up 2 times a year. So that's just an example of the buyers that are coming into Cook County. There are a lot of buyers that come into this county that don't intend to use it in the winter. So, well, whether
You're paying taxes for a year. So what does that mean? You're disparaging non-full year residents, and yet they pay 12 months of taxes. So are you saying they're not eligible to receive benefits?
I think he was referring to the valuation of the property. It doesn't matter how much you're up here or not. The valuation is independent of that.
Where I'm going with this is that you may use the property year round, and if it wasn't plowed, you wouldn't be able to use it the way you want to use it. There are a lot of buyers out there that will use it differently, and I don't think it's going to impact the value if it's not plowed by an SGSD. That's where I'm going with that.
I can guarantee a mortgage company feels differently.
And the fire department.
Yeah.
And the realtor selling it is sure going to look at it differently.
So let me just talk about one example in the market. You know, I've heard a lot about this Voyager Point, Poplar Lake, right? So on the other end of Poplar Lake, on the east end of Poplar Lake, there's Moose Ridge Road. That is not an SGSD, from what I understand, correct? There was a property that just sold on that road in July. It was listed $50,000 above my assessment. That's totally, I expect that just about every time it's a lakeshore property. It sold $75,000 above the asking price. So, you know, that's an example of a buyer is still willing to pay a lot of money regardless of whether or not there is an SGSD. That, I don't.
The lender might not, because I spoke to my CEO of my mortgage company, who said to me,
My financing's in question. Yes.
And that might be the case. I don't deal with financing. We do get a lot of cash buyers up here, and that's what I'm saying, is that there are a lot of people who are interested in buying real estate in Cook County. And, you know, they may be a cash buyer that's gonna use it 3 times a year.
I think the point though, for all those, you know, properties that have the summer maintenance program, if you can't drive to your property, the value is gonna go down.
Yes.
Yes. People don't buy houses, they buy payments. And if you can't buy payments with your principal and interest, taxes, and expenses, I have to be able to insure my home, I have to be able to finance it. If I can't sell it to anybody. And these folks are saying that that's in question. You're saying you haven't seen that. I appreciate that, but also, we haven't seen anything up here since post-COVID, where things have gone kind of crazy. The first economic wave that we get, which we're going to eventually here, things are gonna come back to normal, and then all of a sudden, we're not gonna have roads, nobody's gonna be able to pay their payments, or insurance, or financing, and that could be a problem. In our instance, on Voyager's Point, I appreciate what you're saying there, but we have a system that has worked successfully for 34 years. You have county staff here that I don't know of anyone with, except for Brady perhaps, who has 34 years of tenure. I could be wrong on that, but something to think about.
I guess the question, you know, 34 years of experience versus, you know, 3, 4, 5 now departments saying it's broken, and that what we want to do.
Let's fix it instead of dissolving it.
That's why we're all here, is to try and figure that out. Is to try and see what we can do, because we are, as a few of these, and we haven't gotten to them yet, trying, will show, you know, if you live on a DNR or Forest Service road, we should not be doing this. Murmur Creek Road is a great example of one where, because it's not administered by the Highway Department, it's illegal what we're doing right now. Now we've just added one to the Highway Department staff. We cannot assess people and then hand that money over. It has to be administered by our department. So now we're growing demand. Rena, that statute, we talked to Gene, I can see you shaking your head on that. But that is true. And so there's activities that have happened up here, and even if they happened for 34 years or 34 months, if it's illegal, we can't do that. If these are DNR and Forest Service roads, we have no authority to be doing this work. Just at the end of the day, that's what that is, whether we've done it or not. And so what we want to do, though, is gather this input, try and figure out what the best way to go forward is with this. And there's going to be some of them, and I was talking to folks earlier, that I think make great candidates to get onto the county system. I think that's great. The 2 I've just picked on, or we've talked about kind of the most so far, Irish Creek Road, Murmur Creek Road. We're already talking to the DNR and the Forest Service about that, about getting that onto the system.
Can you comment about Voyager Point Road? It's a public road.
Right.
It's not DNR or Forest Service.
Right.
So when you dissolve this, we as citizens just have to maintain it ourselves. So what
we're going to have to do is follow up after this. Those 2, Irish Creek and Murmur Creek, have been talked about in the background for a long time. Voyager Point hasn't. And so,
well, I'm bringing it up now.
Well, I know, but you're asking me to say something on the spot, and I'm not going to without trying to think about it a little bit more.
You know,
so
homes have been there since 1960.
Sure.
It was accepted into the plat in 1960 by the county. However, for whatever circumstances over the years, it was never accepted into your maintenance program. The SGSD was a good tool for the homeowners to be able to take care of the road using that SGSD system. It worked very well. Everybody gets taxed in Voyager Point District. We don't pay a share to maintain that road.
Right.
Right. The SGSD was a resolution to a big problem where the homeowners in the early days, 1960s and 70s, 80s, fought, struggled to maintain everybody paying their fair share for the road.
Right.
Now you're asking us to go back to the 1970s, 1960s problems.
What we need, or go ahead, Commissioner White.
So why wasn't it a county road?
That's a great question. You could say that about the 300 other miles of Forest Service, DNR, and private road in the county.
No, but if it's not
So-
DNR or Forest Service.
Or private, right.
Or private.
Yeah, we're neither of those classes.
No, I know, but that's what I'm getting at, is there's, and it gets back to the foundational thing we started all of this with. It's capability and capacity. we could plow every single road. Voyager Point, Irish Creek, you name the road, we could do it. But I need to.
60 years later, and we're still not.
Well, right, I need to double my staff. My staff hasn't changed and our level of service continues to go, case in point, right?
I would
And that's-
support them to double your staff.
Thank you. I would love that. That'd be fabulous, yes, yeah.
How
But
much
no,
money does that cost?
a lot. So,
Well,
but,
just fix ours and tax them.
so but that is part of this, is what do we want to do? Is,
capacity our burden as homeowners? That's your.
It's all of our, it's all
It's
of our.
all of our,
That's what makes a community,
everybody,
you know?
capacity is funded through taxes.
We can't figure that out, they have to.
right, and that's why we're
That
here.
is a broad problem, right?
Yes.
But why not keep SGSDs?
Right.
Where they're wanted, a lot of us want to keep them, we can benefit, solve the problems, and like, I'm a former city council member prior to moving here. I'm seeing that people are paying to maintain the road. You're having to deal with 10 emails for one road example, and you're getting paid to do it. If we're
Right.
not covering your cost gap,
Right.
charge us more.
Right.
If you need help with the system and the communications, I'm a certified project manager. I will help you personally.
Sure.
Like, there's so many ways we can fix it instead of just dissolving it completely.
And that's where we've had those conversations already. And why this got brought up for dissolution is at a high level between our departments. We've already sat here and said, I understand what we're talking about. And I think we touched on it at the beginning, was we're coming at this from two different ways right now. The concern is road maintenance. I'm not concerned about whether or not the road gets plowed. We're trying to keep the program going. I appreciate the contractor point of view with that. That's very helpful. But it's not just what we said there. You know, there is the cost component. It's one tiny thing of the 7 slides we went over that talked about the varying points. It's not just one little thing. It's a myriad of things that we're going to have to address once we're done here, and then figure out how we want to do this going forward. And whether that is a potential for adding staff, that's a conversation for the board to have about that. Whether is it 1 staff, is it 2? Is it doubling my maintenance staff and we take on every single road? You know, that's a gross oversimplification, but it's still there, and we can say, we can put a figure on that. I'm happy to put all of that together if you need
And
it.
more equipment.
If your,
Oh.
if your
Oh, yeah.
presentation talks about, it only says that you're dissolving this,
Right.
why are
And-
we even having a town hall meeting?
And I can,
You're talking out of both sides of your mouth here.
I can jump,
Telling us you're dissolving us.
I can jump in on,
Dissolution, proposed.
I can,
Dissolve.
so I can jump in on this one. And so the discussion was brought forward to a committee of the whole by staff to talk with the Board of Commissioners about a potential proposal to dissolve the SGSDs. And so that's why we framed it up that way for the conversation today. But, so we wanted to make sure you had all the information that was brought forward to the commissioners and understood what the issues were from a county staff perspective. Now, I hear Robbie talking a lot about the challenges that we've had as staff in managing these. To me, the core issue isn't the administrative burden or the overhead, because we can solve that. The issue to me is really the responsibility and authority. We have responsibility for these roads without the authority. And so that might be an issue that we have to solve if this proposal does not move forward. We're hearing from all of you that this would be a challenge for you. So I think that is something that we've got to talk about with the commissioners and try to figure out what are some other options. But I just wanted to jump in here and say, to me, it's not so much the administrative overhead, because yes, we can solve for that. That's an easy solution in my mind.
So why, if the state legislature created this in the first place, why did they create it to be a legal entity?
I can't answer that. I have no idea why they created it the way they
And
did.
again, if Cook County is the only county, which we hear time and again, is the only one that does this, why don't we go to the state and say, we like this? Can you change this so it works for us?
If that were to happen, that has to happen because the other 86 counties agree that it's something that is prioritized. Each year when we look at legislator priorities, it is based upon a consensus amongst the counties, and the more that we have that feel that it's important. It's like we said here when Robbie said that the fact that you're showing up gives energy to support a direction. And we as commissioners, we make decisions in the context of the rule of law. Many times there are changes over 34 years that happen that we don't like, and we accept them. In other cases, we say we have the authority to be able to rally to try to change the law if we don't think the law is applicable in our situation. And to make legislatures aware of the fact that you can't have a cookie cutter a solution to everything that happens, because there's uniqueness that exists amongst our counties. So in my response to individuals that took the time to be part of this process and write, I said to find that balance, to listen to the voice of those that are affected in the context of the rule of law. And if the rule of law is something that has changed over the years, and we find out through analysis that we're outside of it, that we have two options: change the rule of law to let legislatures understand the context in which we operate, and the other is to change the program in a way so that we're in compliance, as well as listening to the public and trying to address the solutions. And this, from a commissioner standpoint, when we have the committee of the whole, it's an opportunity for us to roll up our sleeves and have a conversation. And that process has led to this. And we've asked, we want to know pros and cons. And it needs to be an informed process. So we appreciate the input, and we hope that perspective comes so that we can respect where we're at in this, but we need to work together in the context of clear understanding as opposed to making assumptions. And it can get emotional because we're used to what we have, and so I can appreciate that, but our commitment is to understand and work in the context of what we have to, which is multi-layered.
Are you question there, Brady?
Brady, do you know the total tax dollars that are collected every year in all this?
Oh, I'll have to get back to you.
Did they mention in the
Commissioner Mills, can I finish my value piece of this?
I don't think nobody did. If they would have, you'd have to have a 3 times bigger room, I'm sure.
Yeah.
We had sent,
Did a
so,
press release.
yeah, so we had the press release, obviously, we did everything through social media, but then we also sent letters to each of the subordinate district reps to then distribute, you got it? Wonderful, it worked.
Okay.
To then distribute to each of the homeowners. I know when I did an interview, Kirsten, I can't remember if it was with you or Callie, thank you. But we had talked about that, whether we want to stuff 300 envelopes or send it out to the reps. And so we opted for the rep model to then distribute that.
Did you guys mention in the slide that even when collecting the funds and processing the administrative overhead, there's only a 45% success rate in maintaining the roads as it is, so it's not even effective then, correct?
For summer maintenance, correct.
So it's still not super effective. We still need to look for a better way to maintain these roads, given our current situation, so.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Or it's the road liaison's job then, when you have your neighborhood, to say, Matt or Robbie or whoever takes care of it, would be Tom in our instance, to say, hey, road grader's here today, looks great, we're good. There's an email.
What do you
Like
base that
4 emails a year would be
45%
good.
on? What is that? What's
So
the
that's
amount?
based on when we, in this case, there's, I believe, 3 subordinate districts that get summer maintenance. And so what we do then is look at actual services rendered and money charged, and say if you're supposed to get graded twice and you only got it once, 50%. And so it's that. So what we did is took a 5-year average based on that type of analysis and said that's where that came from. You're welcome.
We got a question here, and then Bob wanted to talk again about valuation. Go ahead, please.
Steve Zapata, I'm the rep for Irish Creek. Couple of questions. First, a statement. If this falls, nobody has mentioned protective services whatsoever for all our districts. The sheriff's office, ambulance, firefighting. How are those going to get to you in the middle of winter? And your neighbors? That is paramount. That should go. I
So
see
one
it.
of the points we didn't get a chance to yet was emergency access. And so I think, Kristen, I know we have reached out to some of the fire departments, we've talked with, sorry.
Yes, so we did reach out, and that's a great point and something that, you know, we would want to make sure was in place before any changes would be made, if changes were made. And so we did reach out to a couple of our fire chiefs and the sheriff. I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Up to 11.
Okay, so what I was saying is this is an important issue, of course, and so we did reach out to some of our fire chiefs, not all of them, but a couple of them, as well as our sheriff. And what we received back from one of the chiefs was that road conditions are often challenging, plowing is dependent on the snowfall, the response to incidents is not dependent on road conditions. Our job is to get there regardless of conditions. Consequently, we have 4 4x4 fire trucks. The Type 1 engines have chains on for the winter. They can pretty much get anywhere. Our ambulance is 4-wheel drive, and I can put chains on it as well. We also pre-plan difficult scenarios and can respond with snowmobiles, pulling a rescue sled, or a sled with a pump and firefighting equipment. So I'm not saying that's the best response or the best solution. I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of the information that we have, and that's what we've received so far. This is something that we would...
I agree with that. I come from emergency services. I
Okay.
spent almost 30 years in it. And there's not a department anywhere in Cook County that will not go above and beyond to get to anybody in this county, regardless of the road conditions. But think about how much easier and faster that response is going to be if the road has been plowed. They won't have to stop, put on chains, start up snowmobiles, and do all these other things that they're willing to do. And God bless them for it. But they won't have to do those things. They can just keep responding. And I know we've all heard about, when it comes to the ambulance, the miracle minute. It starts ticking.
Put on as many snow chains as you want, you're not driving through 7 feet of snow.
Right.
Well, I think a key assumption with that as well, and as we talk about this, is the assumption is no service.
Well,
Right?
no, it's not.
Deteriorated service.
They're gonna get to you.
Well, what I'm getting at, though, is there are opportunities, and we have not had a chance to go over them, where you have dozens of existing HOAs and POAs in this county that have operated just as long, longer, same length, same number of people, you name it. This model already exists without our involvement. So the assumption that there's going to be zero access assumes then that nobody, if this program would go away, would seek out to try and create an HOA.
No one said zero, we said reduced.
Well,
But regardless,
Is there a
it's,
suggestion that we
depending
all
on-
form HOAs now?
that is an existing model that's here in this county that doesn't involve the government.
My lender and attorney have said that that is not a viable option because it would require 100% of every homeowner on that road and their mortgage lenders to approve.
I guess, I don't know if Bob has anything with that, but we have, again, those statistics of the 2,700 other properties.
You can do it for new
Sure.
ones going forward. HOAs are pretty, the laws are pretty solid, and people will sign on to it and have to abide by it.
Right.
But going in retro, you've got to get 100% agreement.
Yeah, HOAs are formed at the time of development, not after the fact.
Right.
I'm in the development
If I
business,
can-
and that would not be possible to go backwards.
Right.
So again, and that's
I
part
agree,
of,
I'm under control of 18
right,
HOAs.
and so that's part of the
development, so that's
conversation
not a
then,
possibility.
that's part of the conversation then about once this is done, and we can compare notes with everybody to say, how do we want to go forward with this?
The only other thing is, middle of winter, we all need propane. You know, those trucks are wild on the ice. They all have drop chains. Doesn't make much difference, so they really would appreciate a plowed road. And they won't come on your property if your property hasn't been plowed, and I don't blame them. They don't want to get stuck. One more question. State law, reference this subject. Has it changed in the last 10 years on this subject?
Is this particular statute?
Yes.
That I'm not sure, we have to go
So
look.
what changed then? Why are we here?
Yeah.
Nothing's changed.
We have a program that's been expanding, we have staff that haven't changed.
What
We-
program that's been expanding? How many new districts?
Well, once we're done here and we learn that one of these is at least being administered is against the law, we're up to 9 now.
Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, I touched on it before. So not to pick on Murmur Creek, but that's the one. We, the county, when we assess, we have to be the ones to administer those funds.
Okay.
We cannot just assess and then say, here's a check. And so that's what's happening on Murmur Creek. Is I believe it's the Forest Service is
Yes.
administering that one. And so even though it is another government agency, we cannot do that.
When they put in for their district, did they get the waiver from the Forest Service allowing them to be plowed?
I'm not sure. That we would have
The
to.
Forest Service does their plowing.
Oh, the Forest Service does their plowing.
They do the maintenance.
Then why is the county even involved in it?
That's what we're run with.
It's for the special assessment,
Oh.
and that's what we didn't look at the time. But since this has come
yeah.
up, now we can't find any, if you look closely at statute, you can't find authority for a county government to special assess unless they're providing a service.
I understand very completely. Now it makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I remember when we started 13 years ago, the first thing you told me is, head down to DNR and get the waiver signed, and then come back and see us. And we did. And we moved forward.
And I've heard from some, I can't point to anybody here, but they said that they know of examples around the state where that's happened. But any one that I've heard of that I look at, it's usually, it's a city or a township. They have broad authority for special assessments, cities and towns. Counties, very restricted under the special assessment law. It's only on county state aid roads. And we have authority to special assess if there was some work done. We haven't done any of that.
Well,
But,
now that makes sense.
well, we never looked at it at that time with Murmur Creek. Didn't cross my mind to look at it, but now that we
No,
have.
that's
Because
like-
everybody's asking about that. If it dissolves, will the county keep special assessing? And the county attorney has looked at
That's
it
asking for a fight.
a lot then too, and we can't find any authority.
So one of the things that's keeping me up at night is this timeline. It keeps flashing up here, and I appreciate Mr. Mills saying, listen, this is like best case scenario with everybody wonderful happens. But it's like, I cannot imagine living on Irish Creek Road and getting all of us together for a potluck at Lindy's again to sit down and hammer out something. And yes, we have the benefit of having Labota's right around the corner. But it's one of those that it's like, to think that we might not get plowed out next winter as a public school teacher here, I'm like, I'm not the only teacher, I got a teacher across the road from me too. And we've had those times where we've had to like be creative and take Esther Lake Road and hope the trucks don't get stuck, and it's like we moved out there for a reason. But I appreciate, it's just like, well, we got people that are willing to pay anything to move up here. It's like, what county's gonna be left if the teachers all have to move? What county's gonna be left if the other people that live along the road can't be here anymore? Because us, it's like, we moved out there, it's like, we're dog mushers. It's like, you want more arguments on County 14 because another kennel wants to move in? It's like, you want another one when County 60 had a kennel that wanted to move in? It's like, we're out there as a little collective group, and some of it's because that's where we're accepted. And we can do things like Bear Grease and have it out our back door and have the visitors come up and spend the money and everything. But it's like, we work in this county. We're not the millionaires that don't need a mortgage that pay cash for it to come up twice a year. I'm hoping I don't have to drive to town twice in the same day. Because I've got milk and we're out and,
The same week.
Yeah, it's like 1,000-gallon propane tank just as backup. I got 3 heat sources. And it's like to think that I couldn't, like, I haven't talked to my mortgage company yet. Well, I got news for you. They're right down the road, and they probably got the announcement quicker than I did about this, as, you know, these maybe getting dissolved. But I'm like, heaven help me if State Farm hears about it. It's like, that's the kind of stuff that it's like, you know, it's not anybody else's business that I only have one freaking leg, but it's like, there's only so much I can do. We moved out there for a reason. We moved from a road where we were the maintenance crew. We had the agreement with the DNR. We had the skid steer. We had the plow truck. We had the chains. And the county used the road. and the county used the road to maintain the towers. So we moved somewhere where we didn't have to be the maintenance crew. Because I got news for you, the only people that ever offered to help assist us with payments were the people that could afford it the least, and we loved them dearly. But everybody else that came through and said, oh, they'll come up once or twice a year, well, I got news for you, they came up a lot more. The business that was running the Airbnb up the road had people up there all the time, and nobody contributed. So it's like, I can't imagine that we're all of a sudden, like I said, Linda planned the potluck. It's like, to be able to think that we're going to have this settled by the next snowfall, next winter? I'm trying to figure out, you know, how fast can I retire as a school teacher in Cook County? Who's gonna take on my caseload of 18 kids and all the seniors that I teach? That's where my brain's going at 3 a.m. right now.
And what we wanted to have, what we had wanted in there, come back, someone over there had a quick question, and I told you. But the timeline, we wanted to have something in there. Like, this is the, you know, the soonest would be that. But that is by no means, and as you've heard from everybody here, guarantees. There is a lot of conversation that still has to happen. There's a lot of follow-up that has to happen with this as well. So we wanted to have at least something that touched on that. So, but she's had her hand up, sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, you know, clearly, one of the takeaways is that you've seen one SGSD, you've seen one, right? There's different pain points and different complexities to each one. And yet, I'm thrown, I would say, by the binary dissolve or keep. Would you be willing to work with each SGSD to resolve collaboratively? Because I can guarantee there's a heck of a lot of people, a lot of them in this room, who would volunteer, have a lot of expertise, but would really put time, energy, and willingness and eager to do it, and money, to try to make this work collaboratively. So I guess I'm thrown by, are you willing to work with the, is this something where we can move forward and each, or is it like yay or nay? And then I was a little thrown by suddenly the conversation that something statutorily is legality is hindering us here, because that's the new, to my, I'm not a lawyer, but I have a lot of lawyers in my neighborhood who are saying that legally there's no reason why in SGSD you cannot work collaboratively and we could continue on.
And I think part of it is following up with this. Step one is we have this, right? We're all here, we're all talking, pretty civil.
I should have asked, instead of who is not on an SGSD, I should have asked who wants to get rid of SGSDs. Two hands. Okay, yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I think that's part of it.
No, that wasn't a bid, yeah.
Yeah, but I think it is. I think it's something where, again, the follow-up that we need to have after this. We're here, you know, this is the presentation. This is what we have proposed. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. It means it's step one in many, 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 many steps. And maybe the program gets better, so.
The legal aspect was something that, since we began to look at this, that we found that out. So we were looking to find out if we're in compliance, and in that process of trying to inform ourselves, we found out, oh my goodness, we aren't. So that was a discovery to us, and so.
Clear, not with all SGSDs. There may be some that aren't in compliance.
That's true. And so this is why getting the information, your comment about working individually, we need to understand individually, because it is not a cookie cutter issue. It has to be tailored based upon, in the context of what we can do and what working with individual groups are willing to do. But the conversation has to start, and when it begins, it's always going to be a lot more emotional, because we're basing a lot of our thoughts on assumptions, and that's why this discussion helps to bring some context and helps to direct for us as we move forward in our conversations what we need to look at and understand. So.
And I may be in the minority here, but I have an active winter business on Irish Creek Road where hundreds of people come up, and it's an Airbnb, so that's year round. So I would face a significant hardship professionally, like my livelihood.
You talk about capacity issues. Has the county done a process improvement study to outline exactly what it is you think you need?
We did, our departments did get together, outlined our individual concerns, and then, I'll pick on Kyle, he made a beautiful map, and it was this great flow chart, because he's good at that. But it helped really guide the conversation on what we would actually need to, spin up, if you will, that we would have to create from nothing. And that's what led us down this, where there's gonna be considerable spin up on our end to do that, and we said, well, it's part of the conversation though, or dissolve.
Okay,
And so
but-
that's, go
But
ahead.
then, okay, so you do that study for yourselves, whatever, then don't you invite your road liaisons at least to get together and have a meeting and say, we've got issues, guys, gals, whoever they are. And let's talk about it. I don't see where any invitation has been made to the road liaisons of the various SGSDs to sit down and, okay, let's sit down and talk about what are the issues.
The
There's
concerns, or
nothing.
Commissioner White, sorry.
All right. I've sat on the Highway Advisory Committee for a couple of years and have been through a couple of discussions, more than of discussions. And I can tell you to a person that nobody is all wound up and say, let's dump them. That's not the issue. We have talked about the ethical responsibility that the county has for road safety for our residents. We've talked about all of that. This is a preliminary thing. There have been no decisions made. In reality, there are some of these subordinate governmental service districts that have functioned really well. And when I first came on and joined the advisory committee, the highway department was dealing with a district that was not functioning well at all. It had to do with personalities, communications, and that was when the highway department put a lot more energy into than they should have, because it was not functioning. They had to, well, I don't need to get into it, but it showed a lot of flaws in that if we don't follow the contract and just speak to the person, one person, it can all go awry very quickly. So, I will tell you, I have been very busy with all you people, first 2 weeks, just sending me emails about these things. Just me, nobody else, just me. So, and I, like I do custom responses, so not a one of you got the same response from me. So, I learned from many of you what a successful subordinate governmental service district, how it works, how it has been working. And I have had no experience, no information about that. And so coming from those of you that have that firsthand experience, it is really, really important. But I, as a commissioner, recognize our responsibility to keeping our community people safe. However, it's a DNR road, it's a Forest Service road, and we do not have the authority or the money to take on those roads and fix them so they are safe, so the county can take them over. I'm guessing that if we have one new employee, that's about $100,000. And then if we have to have another snowplow or truck or I don't know what, how much does a grader cost from the source?
Graders, the one we just bought, about $500,000.
So those are some,
$350,000.
those are some significant taxpayer costs that we are considering. So I get in trouble for speaking, I'll just say simmer down, but I understand the emotion on all this. I recognize it, I appreciate it, I really appreciate all of your input and that you're here. And I'm hearing it, and there have been no final decisions made. And when Commissioner Mills says it might might take another year or 2 years. It's a complicated thing, and there's more than 60 people in this room. And for those of people that see this tomorrow, emotions are kind of like just before the pot boils. That's what I feel like in this room. So anyway, I represent the people in my district, and I represent the people in all the districts, and we all need to just be part of the process, be patient, and understand that we're not really out to get you. I mean, we don't get paid the big bucks to get out to really be the bad guys. So, thank you. But please, sleep better at night. There's no imminent thing coming.
I'm sorry I have to leave, but I'd ask if there was any question for me before I leave. Directly.
It's not now or never. This conversation will go on and on and on. And Brady will be a part of that too, so. And to the question about reaching out to liaisons, that would be an excellent communication strategy to start there. It was decided just kind of broadly to try to get as much feedback as possible, but yeah, that would be a very efficient way to communicate. Thank you. Oh, sorry, one.
This town hall because it's information. You want information if you want to get together. I've lived on a road in Livingston for 41 years, and it's not a DNR road, it's not a forest road, it's not a private road, it's a road. We have 20 residents on it. Back in the 90s, Bruce, our commissioner, and that, I approached him and said, I want to be part of this subordinate district. At that time, I was told that we had to have 80% full-time residents. Okay, so I went back to my residents, and a lot of them were seasonal, and that was fine, and people were like, oh, kind of, no. We finally got 80 full-time residents in. Went back to the county, said, hey, got my 80, here we go there. Next thing was, went on your road, you got to bring it up to county standards. County standards is a big cost. So, at that time we were like, well, okay, and we were struggling with why you are a subordinate district. We were people weren't helping pay. There was a few of us trying to pay and make the road for all of them, and yet they were benefiting. That was either local or seasonal. So there was, so it got really struggling. So then we put $32,000 on our road. We got found contractors, did all that, and that's what this for. So that's great. But what I have to say is, I feel like I didn't get to belong to the club. We didn't get to belong to the club. And so I want you to look at, when you're looking at things, who gets it and who doesn't get it. We finally had to, 2 years ago, we used a lawyer there by WTIP and had to kind of get ourselves formal. Because some of us, we just couldn't afford it anymore. So we looked at, get a lawyer, get, because we were using one of our checking accounts to, put money. So now we are HOA, or road association. And people, it didn't affect, some of us have mortgages, we're a road association, and I have to fill out a form, I'm the secretary to send over to the state. No, it hasn't affected, but properties have sold since then. And what I do is, as soon as I see the for sale sign, Timberwolf, where I call and find out who the realtor is, I say, hey, we're a road association. There's going to be this. Let whoever is going to buy is going to happen. And we have now 4 Airbnbs, a lot of traffic. We're just off 39, and we come back on 30. It's just a road that goes like this. So all I'm saying is, try to remember other people that we are having to do all that work too. And I was working full-time Racing County. That's a lot of work. We're there. We're fine. It's hard, but I sure would have loved to have been part of your club, but I couldn't be there. That's what I want to say.
What club do you mean?
The SGDs, because I tried twice to get it.
But that implies that we're getting benefits.
No, I don't mean it that way, but you are, because I have to research contractors. I have to get the plow people. We have to meet once a year. We have to gather, we have to invoice, we have to.
Okay, I just want to be clear though,
services.
because there is sort of, at times, there's sort of a misnomer that SGSDs are financially not paying their way.
No, you guys have to pay the county, but then they're doing all that work, we are doing ourselves. That's what I'm trying to say. We're
Yeah,
doing
well,
it
we paid for
ourselves.
that.
If I could,
Yeah.
I'd like to just say that
We pay a special
No, we pay an
assessment
extra-
fee if they manage and
Pay extra fee.
If I could,
But-
I'd like to say that point in there is
Yeah.
the piece that, in the slides about equity and a scalability of a process, right? So if we are gonna keep this process from an equity standpoint, the county needs to be able to facilitate that service to other people in similar examples.
That's all I'm saying. And it's just feedback.
And that's a concern and something that we wanna talk about and work through, because it is things that we hear from other people is
So you would get more administrative fees in time.
Yes,
Yes.
we're paying for it.
Right, and that's the same, that's how we get back to capacity, right? We could plow every
So
driveway in the county.
259 properties you currently have on SGSD roads, if you were to hire one person to oversee all SGSDs at $100,000 a year, that's $386 per property. I'm happy to pay that.
Right.
Add it to my bill.
Well, and what we have right now
Or
is, you know,
contract somebody.
one, we don't know what that position would look like, and that's why we're here, we're talking about it, we have to follow up and then see what we wanna do with that. Because now we're gonna go from 9 districts, if we're gonna keep doing this, now do we start expanding that? Now one person's not enough, does that change? Now do we have a division that manages subordinate districts? If that's the case, if that's what we wanna do, great, that's fine.
And I will add, though, that we have heard from many people through phone calls and emails and even tonight about your willingness to pay more for the service if that's what it takes. And so I do just want to say we appreciate that. And I think that's something that we can potentially look at is what would the actual cost be? Because right now we know that we're not charging for all of the work that goes into the SGSDs. But I think that we can potentially look at what would the actual cost be and then have some discussions about that as well.
You got your hand up, yeah.
My name is Hugh McGill, and I'm a year-round resident on the South Clearwater Road, and I first want to thank commissioners and staff members for holding this and hearing us on this. I'm one of the few people in the room that's not covered in an SGSD. I recently had to assume responsibility for road maintenance on that private road. South Clearwater is private with easements. The Clearwater Road is public. We maintain it and do a marvelous job with that. But I've had to assume maintenance because of the death of a neighbor. And I've been considering forming an HOA and petitioning for formation of an SGSD. I only want to make 3 points. The first of which is the statute authorizes you to budget for the administrative cost of running this project. And I think you've heard clearly tonight, everybody's willing to pay more. It's a matter of trying to ascertain what's necessary to run these well. The second point I'd like to make is that the legal authority to assess for these SGSDs vastly is more powerful than my ability to invoice neighbors, which is what I do right now. And our annual maintenance costs, by my estimate, are probably gonna run about $20,000 or $25,000 a year. And I'm estimating right now that I'm probably gonna have to absorb 10 or 15% of that because of no response. And so the ability to assess, to me, is a powerful tool. It's granted to the county by the statute, and it's one that's been working well. I think, to me, it's a matter of figuring out how to make this program efficient financially, so it's not as much of a burden on you. You have the right staffing to run these. Because ultimately, and I respect the observation about assessments, I understand that this doesn't affect the assessment of a property, but in my judgment, it clearly impacts the market value. If I'm looking at 3 properties, one of which is maintained by the county, that's the most valuable in my mind. The second would be if there's an SGSD in place that's working well. That's a little less valuable than the county maintained, but it's certainly more valuable than the private road where I have to send out invoices and hope people will actually pay their fair share.
Or in the instance of when I bought my cabin, my wife literally took me out to Kelly Ridge Road in Kelly Hill and said, "We're never buying on a private road. I witnessed this firsthand."
Yep.
I said, "Okay, I get it. Now I get it." Because she took me out there. She's lived here for 10 years. We all know the story. It's not it's not, we wanted to say that we don't know the story. I think all of us do. So, yeah, we like it. Keep it. Fix it.
Well, that's precisely what happened on the Evergreen Road 30 years ago. We had it put into this program, and there's no room for improvement in the last 30 years. It's been working as good as it could the whole time. So I came in hopes that it would stay the same. Now, if we have to mark it up, we gotta do what we have to do. But to abandon it, I think is gonna be a mess.
Rena had a question.
I'd just like to make a statement statement that I keep hearing, well, not only is this much work, but we can expect more in the future, because more people are gonna wanna be in one of these districts. And the thing is, this county is growing, and some of the area where there's the most property is in these areas. So I'm just gonna encourage you, commissioners, to lean into this program, because it doesn't cost you levy dollars. People are paying for it. Find a way to fix it.
We're footing the
Because if
bill.
you can fix it, then people can live in these places. Arrowhead Electric put in electricity, broadband, but if nobody can get to the property because the roads are so damn bad, then what good is that infrastructure? The most basic infrastructure you have is the road. If you want families to move here so kids can go to school, teachers to teach, you have to do this. You can't just say, well, there's all this binary kind of approach. You have to think, how do we lean into this? How do we not only do it, but do it better so that it works and so that we can make it work for more people? That's
Well said.
Rena, nice. However, we don't own the DNR roads, and we don't own the Forest Service roads.
That's
And I will
easy.
tell you that Robbie's been doing a nice behind-the-scenes greasing palms to try to get those entities
But you know what I heard is that
upgrade the
there's-
roads. And so when they get to a certain point, like the grade did, it will not cost the county taxpayers $1.5 million or $1 million a mile to get these roads up to grade. So
I'm not asking the county above them, but somebody said they got something from the DNR.
Yeah, that was me.
We're
All
not
you
talking
have
about
to
every
do
one of
is
these
get a
roads.
waiver from DNR.
So there are ways to solve this, but I think
And we have it.
this needs that energy.
it's not about getting a waiver, it's about the quality of the road. Is it safe?
Well, of
Is it
course,
safe?
and that's why before it ever gets agreed upon, the county engineer comes out and goes, there's no way you're gonna get this thing. Or, yeah, go to DNR and get your waiver.
So then do us as residents on DNR roads or US Forestry Services roads, do we need to be contacting those departments to see what we need to do in order to get that process going? Because I think if we as citizens are putting more pressure on those departments, maybe we can get the ball rolling and get these roads upgraded without necessarily having to cost us, the local taxpayers, more money.
110%.
I deal with the DNR all the time in my development world. I know who to contact for that stuff. So
Yeah, and
that's a hard thing to do.
Yes, and we might be more effective if we're all working together in one voice, So that's what part of this is, because, people at the DNR getting flooded with 60 emails will maybe not be as productive as, we've got a petition from 60 people and we want this and come on, let's do it. So, but yes.
But there's good, when we've talked to them, that's what I was saying
Did you get it?
before. That's when it's easier for them to go get it, is when there is strong local support for that. And we've seen that, like I said, with the grade, with Onion River, I think, even though, Trout Lake Road isn't a county road, it was still one of those things where there was a lot of strong local support for it, and they were able to get that money to upgrade it a bit. So Rusty had his hand up, and then we'll go, sorry. Did you?
Okay, I'm a little bit on the other side. Everybody here has got property that they're staying or spend a lot of time at. In the Irish Creek District, it was set up 13 years ago, and then they set it up, if the snowbank hits your property, you're the one that pays taxes. Well, I'm gonna pick on Pat Elias in here just a little bit. He's already sold his property, but we live on the lake, we have an outhouse there. We gotta pay all this extra assessment. Right around the corner, I'm just saying Pat, because he's bought and sold his property, not picking on him, but that's on the Boulder Boulevard. You don't have to pay no assessment, or anybody else around that whole thing, because the snowbanks don't hit their property. So, I think it was set up very poorly 13 years ago, because it's no different than the Boulder Boulevard, the Brumbaugh Road, the other side of the lake, I know the plow route, I plowed it. Had to fix the roads. So, you have to go plow out a parking lot area, so if someone comes and parks their snowmobiles or whatever, they can go to their lake, they get all the extra benefits of the being plowed, don't have to pay. So, I'd like to see it dissolved and reformed to make sure everybody that can get access has to pay instead of, well, the snowbank land in yours, you gotta pay. Like I said, I'm pretty sure because we have an outhouse on our property, we pay more taxes than the one right around the corner that has a cabin. That shouldn't be.
So what I hear you saying is, you're paying for part of the road that other people are benefiting from, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, and in our instance, if we did not have our SGSD, we would be, the few of us that might use it during the winter, historically, 1960 till 1992, according to Lori's records, I'm sorry she can't be here tonight, she's on a cruise, but I will get the records, because she keeps meticulous records. She had to bang around on door to door to door to ask for $40 a year.
Yeah.
And 2/3 of our community did not pay
Right.
back in 1992. So that's a situation where our community benefits by, but it's defined well. Yours might need redefining, but you're not wanting to dissolve it, you're wanting to fix it, because if that gets dissolved, you're gonna end up carrying on all of the road, probably more burden than less.
I just looked today, there's probably 70 partials that aren't paying, that have access. And there's probably 60 or 70 that do pay. And like I said, I think over $800 extra a year, some years when they've had good snow, that we're paying.
I think your message is the same as ours, but it's just that you want yours corrected and fixed. Because some people are benefiting, but not paying.
Right.
Whereas we formed an SGSD because some people were benefiting and not paying. Our message is the same, it's just two different things. And I think that cookie cutter approach of just dissolve it all because we can't figure it out, I think that's wrong. Thank you.
Yeah, anyway, I'm Steve All, I'm up on Bottom Lake. We're the newest SGSD. I, spend an enormous amount of time in working with council and the fire department to get that in back in 2022. So, the chief reason for us, again, was, and we're not looking to be brought up to county standards with our road. Our road's 12 feet wide, and 2 feet on each side of the ditches. It's in terrible shape. I've been there for 35 years. Come up there, back in the day, Frankie Raybold had a grader, he plowed out for a while. He quit doing it because we couldn't collect money, and no one would pay, maybe a handful of us. And that wasn't winter plowing, that was doing the plowing so you could get at it in the summertime. And that's what we are, we're just a summer maintenance only. We have nothing to do with winter plowing. One person lives back there, the rest of us, a bunch of us go up in the wintertime, we pay that guy to plow. But back in 2022, I remember we had the big floods back then. I remember, our road just got decimated, it was bad to begin with. So we gotta do something here, so that's when they said, let's get this SGSD thing, we'll get doing that. He's like, yeah, we do that, and now, if we get this in place, instead of 12 people paying and 45 people benefiting, everybody gets assessed. And we did a travel distance assessment rate, and I helped do the calculations, figure that out, how to, assess people. Well, it was an enormous success. We got it through. That first year we spent $52,500. We allocated out and everybody paid. The road got beefed up. We weren't looking to, make it a highway or anything. And we still didn't have enough to gravel it like we wanted to. But in the first year, I worked with Matt Nesham, and we had an engineer up there and we're doing all this stuff. We replaced culverts, all this stuff. And turns out we didn't have enough money at that 52 even to gravel it right. We got 2 inches of gravel on, so I'm not gonna preach, but Matt worked with me and there was pretty much involvement with the county that year. since then, I maybe have 2 or 3 emails a year with him. All we're doing now is maintaining, we're bringing additional gravel in so that we can actually grade it, right? So the last 2 years, 14,500, we divided it up to bring in the gravel in. So what we're gonna do again this next year. The big thing, again, is emergency access. We had a thing right before we brought that up, the guy at the end of the road fell, broke his hip, elderly guy. Ambulance and first responders came in, had a hell of a time getting back there because there's branches hanging over the road, and it's full of chuck holes and potholes. They got him out, but he got a bumpy ride out of there. And so, number 1 is everybody pays. Number 2, they got good emergency access. Maybe not in the winter, but there's nobody up there in the winter. So, and what was the last one? Yeah, a whole bunch of stuff to read and letters from a couple of people. Anne has all that. But, and everybody's happy. They go, I sent out an email, after I got the notice, 3 weeks ago, and they had massive response, saying, keep it, this is working. It's simple for us. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm on the other side of the coin from these 2 guys that just talked. I live down Camp 12 Road. I'm the only permanent resident down there. I plow Camp 12 Road. It's a half mile. My snow, your snow doesn't touch whatever, but I'm willing to pay whatever, because I need to use Irish Creek Road. I can't plow with my little beat up old dump plow truck. I'm willing to pay. I'm not one of those guys that, oh, I don't live on the road, I don't want to pay. I'm willing to pay, and quite a few other people are too. Just take it out of my taxes, whatever, man.
No, it's fair. I appreciate it. I know we are like way over, and this has been awesome. Feels like I don't know if there's an opportunity here.
There's still hands going up, not a lot and not fast, but please, if there's more questions, people have left.
I guess one thing, as a fellow civil servant, kind of like, it sounds like, yes, it can be annoying, certain parts of the job, but the work that you guys do allows us to live here. And so just like, keep that in mind, that it's like, and yeah, we're passionate, a lot of people took work off to be able to get here on time. The folks on Irish Creek had to drive at least an hour to get here. But just know that like, the work that you guys do allows us to be up here, to be in the place that we love. So thank you for the work that you have been doing. And it's
I think a key word that has come out and been consistent is equity, and it touches multiple issues, whether it's paying, whether it's, the job we do, whether we're complying with the rule of law and distribution of revenues, whatever, but equity. And equity can be understood as trying to be fair. And to the extent that you understand that, you see the work that's done, you see the effort that's put into it. We have the diversity that exists without the cookie cutter approach, and the more that we can put together something to understand each unique situation will benefit us in moving forward decision-wise. I think reaching out, as has been pointed out, to the liaisons so that we have that conversation, then we can understand the uniqueness that exists and build into the diversity, that equity that has been a consistent theme. And so this is healthy. It's uncomfortable, but it's healthy. And we want to demonstrate as people that are elected to represent you that we are willing to be patient and do the hard work to understand so that any decision reflects your voice in that decision. So.
This isn't going to sound good, but so be it.
We just said it was healthy.
Yeah. I think we're here, and the catalyst behind it is because of what happened on Murmur Creek Road. I haven't heard anything to the contrary to that.
What happened there?
No, excuse me, maybe I got the road wrong. What's the road where?
Kelly's Hill.
Oh, Kelly's Hill.
No.
Then I'm out of ideas.
Yeah, the illegal one.
Murmur.
Murmur, that one.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
Well, that's one example of some of the challenges that the program has, but
I
yeah.
guess what I'm getting to, if it hadn't been for that, the likelihood of us being here today.
Be the same.
Really?
100%.
The Little Ollie community, my understanding is almost all of those roads, or if not all of them, are US Forest Service and DNR roads. But it also boosts a lot of tourism with the Bandad Ski Trail and the snowmobile trails that are out there.
But again, you know, like we did on Irish, if you can get DNR to sign off, it's nothing more than a piece of paper allowing the county to administer it and then hire anybody other than the state to plow it. It's that easy.
Well, there's, you know, like we've talked about, I think, all tonight, and it's easy to pick out little things. It's just a piece, it's just this thing, this is easy.
Well,
And what I'm saying is there's a lot that goes into that, and we're not here for one single thing. If it was just a money thing, you'd be assessed and none of us would be here. Great, done. If it was one tiny other little thing, none of us would be here. This thing is a monster. This covers 4 or 5 departments. We don't take this, we don't say getting not yelled at, but having a healthy conversation. You know, and so, but that's why we want to gather all the information. We've learned a lot just in the last handful of months that we have been talking about this.
I thought you were going to say minutes, but.
Well, also minutes, but even the Murmur Creek thing, we didn't learn until we really started to put a magnifying glass.
My point is, say you can't correct Murmur Creek.
Sure.
Other than by the county going, we're not gonna take it over and make it a county road.
Right.
That would be great.
Sure.
But let's not get to that point yet. Say you can't fix Murmur Creek Road.
Sure.
Okay? Does that mean, because we can't fix this problem, we all get axed?
No. No.
All right.
Murmur,
When I heard equity,
yeah.
from Gary, that's the first thing. It was like,
No.
it's all or nothing.
The very specific example, and again, that gets back to what has been talked about very specific examples in each of these. Every single one is a little bit different. The Murmur Creek one, that gets fixed by, now we administer it. It's not the Forest Service anymore, it's the Highway Department. Like, we are there doing that now. So that work is still, what that does though, is now that's one more subordinate district that we have to administer. And so that's that piece of it. That's just that one little unique piece. That's not the sole reason we are here. It's one of many, many, many.
I stand corrected.
Good question.
So quick question, if the county decided we're gonna plow all the roads, how much money would we save in expenses for employees from all the other branches of government that are fiddling with this subordinate districts?
So if
Because
we,
you're telling me there's a lot of work that goes in from all these other, the assessments.
sure, yep.
So
So if we
you're
plowed
saying
it,
money, can you hire more plowers?
if we plowed every road, so, well, no, that's a great, and that's actually like my favorite topic of conversation is like Cook County 2050, what does that look like? Expansion of services, and it gets into some budget things, and I'll keep it tight, because I know I kind of want to leave in like 10 minutes. But no, you know, the preliminary thing we've come up with is for us to expand our services, meaning if we're going to do new roads, or try and do them faster, for example. So hiring somebody in a plow truck for $400,000. That's what that costs, you know, between a person and a vehicle. And so that's just one. And now that's one person that we can pick up a little bit now, here and there. Now, if we don't talk about, you know, we made the example of doubling my staff. So 400,000 times 20, you're good at math, go. Gives you an example though of like, that's what we're talking about right now. As far as, now that's a gross over, I don't anticipate even proposing that. That's fine. I might need more help.
I need to go now.
It gives you an idea of that type of cost, what we're looking at. And so, and I think, you know, takeaway too is, you know, I appreciate that, you know, money's not an option. That's kind of what we heard. But that's nice because then as we talk, you know, staffing or help or whatever, we can say, well, this program pays for itself or something like that.
Well,
Go ahead.
to be fair, if you did take on more of these roads under the county and you had to hire people, get equipment, those costs are now dispersed across the whole county now, not just 259 properties.
That's right,
Well,
Nick.
it depends what we're talking about, because now we're almost a little, we're two different things. One is the current program as it exists, and we hire staff to administer that program. So that pays for it. We're still not plowing, we're still not whatever, there's still contractors doing that work. There's the other component of this, though, that is taking things on as county roads. And now, there's no more special assessments, it's just, we go do it. You know, and so I think those, you know.
And or a combination, you know, like that's what we're trying to figure out is what solutions what do we have the authority for?
Right.
What solutions are there?
The costs are gonna be dispersed by either 259 properties, or however many come on to the SGSD program, or
yeah.
The whole county as a whole.
And there's, you know, again, it gets to the statutory thing of, you know, when we're following that, I don't know, I think an example, and it could be what we're getting at is can the subordinate district program pay a county employee to plow that road or maintain that road with county equipment? I don't know. I think we have to follow the low bid stuff, meaning we don't do the work. So,
You do that, though.
Liability and such.
right. So I think, but that's something that we need to look at. So that's
And
where
the
I.
condition of the road.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the condition of the road.
Yes.
I mean, that's part of it,
You can't
whether we can or not, and then what we're talking about too, you know, you've seen our vehicles, that gets to the hard thing. You know, we have tandem plow trucks, we have 1-tons, we have graders, some of these roads, that's not fitting down that road. And so, but I think the important distinction is services to pay for, you know, assessments, not just for the work, you pay fees that go into, is it a conversation about hiring staff, that now we do it that way, and some type of expansion there, or the conversation, like we've already talked about a lot, is taking these roads, some of them potentially, getting them fixed up to a point that now they meet what we want to add to our system, and we do it that way. And then it's just a county road at the end of the day. Irish Creek Road, what are we on, 104, something like that. So,
and
we gotta dig into some of that.
Bob, did you still want, Assessor Thompson, did you still want to touch on?
No, I think the moment's gone.
Okay.
I had a lot.
Sorry, Bob.
I had a lot prepared that I, stayed after to share with you folks, and it was shut down pretty quickly. But what I will say is that I didn't know where the SGSDs were until I emailed Robbie this morning. So it's not in the assessment.
Because it's currently functioning. If it didn't function, that's the point where
So,
you affect values.
thank you. I'm done. I don't see a point in trying to make my point when it's just being met with objection, so.
I just want to say, first of all, thank you for hosting this. I think it's very important to have the dialogue. And if any of us seem to be yelling at you, I don't think we're yelling at you. We're trying to make sure we can hear, but also we're concerned for our property, our investment, our home, our livelihood, our safety. This is a bigger deal.
Absolutely.
All around. But I do want to ask that you reach out to communicate with these liaisons on what are possible ideas and next steps. And then I would ask that you communicate to them whenever you're having another meeting, whether it's another town hall or a commissioner's agenda item, so that we can all be aware and stay involved, because this impacts all of us and then some.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. Yeah.
And can I also add that there's some, again, I'm not a lawyer, but there's a lot of emails from the lawyers in my world who are saying that there are other legal ways that the county could do an SGSD-like model where some of the administrative burden is further reduced from the county and given to the SGSD. So would you be open to having these conversations for, as to other hybrid models, not just the one that
Right.
you're...
Our understanding when we consulted with, Gene, county attorney, was that's why our department's involved. We can't do that. If we assess, we have to administer. And so that is kind of that's where that sits, and that's why the Murmur Creek thing, to keep picking on them, became a red flag. Not the reason we're here, but that's why, so that's an instance where, okay, we need to fix that. We can't keep doing that.
And
But-
you were told that by your lawyers, or any?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but what I'm hearing you say is, will we work with you and discuss the obstacles and opportunities as we move forward? And I think the answer to that, I'm looking at my commissioners here, but I think the answer to that is yes.
Thank you, and I was just asking that, would you be interested in additional legal opinions?
Of course. More information is better, I think, but we do have to defer to our county attorney, but attorneys can talk. And what I and this is just me talking off the cuff, but what I would envision is a work group, and liaisons can be a part of that work group and really digging in.
I think that would be received very well.
Yeah, yeah. And so any ideas that are, combinations or, hopefully can find the best of both worlds, not the worst of both worlds, right? So, but just getting the information, getting issues. Some of the points that I wrote down that I really appreciate from tonight is teaching to bid. I think that's really wise. And just the issues with the mortgage and the insurance, and having to deal with the lenders and how that changes people's lives. Also lobbying the state, working with them. If we are the only one, it might be easier to get special treatment. But to Commissioner Gamble's point, if we're the only one having that voice down there. So it can cut both ways. And then taxing the districts for potential staff. Like, these are good ideas and things we can roll around. We still need to find actual costs for the programs.
Can you tax, so the gentleman behind us was saying that if it was a snow plow hitting your property, you're only getting assessed. But I'm probably one of the 70 or whatever he counted that maybe ain't getting assessed. I guess I don't know for sure if I am.
Okay.
And I'd want to be assessed.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and how to amend SGSDs, all of that we need to look at, expand or.
That's always been very challenging this is when I'm talking about the equity issue. How do you make that? Because you'll have, like we've heard the comments this evening, they're not paying for it, but they get the benefit. We have to do that in the context of the provision of what the law allows us to do. The other thing, in Robbie's example, if you take one grader and one employee, 400,000, based upon this year's budget process, that's 3%. That's 3% to the levy. So just when you're looking at levy dollars or whatever, that all of those things are things that we're looking
But
at.
if you're talking about 259 properties, is that what the number was, 259?
Yeah.
But if you actually took everybody that started at Irish Creek Road all the way back to the end of Tom Lake, you could add another 70 according to this guy. So.
Nope. Yeah, there's some opportunities out there. Yeah.
69 or 68 on Irish.
Yeah.
So.
And part of the challenge is we can't just do that, right?
That's my question.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And if it's possible.
Right.
You've had your hand up.
I have. So I am new to Cook County, Hovland. I live up on Irish Creek, been there full-time for 2 years. And that I'm still trying to understand why we are even having this conversation. I feel like what's been in place of my view of the last 2 years of living up here, that it doesn't look broke. My road's getting clear when I get 3-4 inches of snow. Why are we here having a conversation? It doesn't feel like it's broke to me.
Yeah, it's maybe not your situation, but with the other SGs, there's just a mountain of challenges. And so that's why we're having the conversation is, let's look at these challenges. They're all maybe a little different with each SGSD. Maybe there's some SGSDs that are working perfectly. That's good to know about too, right? What's different between the ones that aren't or are working? And then what can we do to make the system better? Or, as staff had suggested, an option, dissolving it, but the board was like, oh yeah, that's not a way to go.
Does
So.
it all have to be in a whole in order for that to work, rather than one be separated, or?
Well, equity is an issue, and so if we're liable for not applying the law in the same way, I don't know. It depends probably on each one.
We see the county come up to the county pit, and that's partial on the Irish Creek Road. Why can't we continue that on? Why are we separated? Oh, I understand that, but still.
Yeah.
It seems odd to me.
Yeah, maybe. That's, I mean, that
I
could be
think
part
it's
of it.
important just to note, because a lot of people are leaving, that as commissioners and staff, we really appreciate your attendance and the tone in which this conversation has happened. And so we encourage, as we move forward, that we have more opportunities. And again, it just greatly appreciated the tone at which this conversation has taken place.
I would just like to thank you also, but my word to you is communication. How do you want communication from us? Emails, we have a sign-in sheet, we have social media, we have the county court site. How can we hear from you? Email. All of that, emails? Okay. We have to know who you are.
So make sure you sign the
Yeah,
list
we have
in
the
the
sign.
back.
What do you think?
The liaisons that each district has, I think that's probably gonna be your best bet, is to sit down with.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
And then, or SGS liaisons, and then they can talk to, I think that's gonna be the best bet, because that's how I do it now.
Okay. And I want to say that I really agree.
Commissioner Mills,
Throw the problem out.
You got a question, one more in the back.
there's one in the back.
The people that.
Gina.
I just wanted to mention one more point. It's been mentioned a couple times that we are the only county in the state that has SGSDs. And I want to reference from the perspective of, maybe that's because we have very difficult terrain or very unique infrastructure, because Gunflint Trail, for example, has many, 3 if not more of these on that road alone. That's the longest school bus route in the country. So we have very unique needs.
It's a 66-mile cul-de-sac. I don't know if Izetta's got one of those,
There's
but
a reason why
we
we
do.
might be the only one.
Yeah,
And
oh,
that's
for
not to
sure.
say like, oh, get rid of the consumer.
No. Yeah, it just gives us pause to like, are there other vehicles we can use for the same service? You know, just like, what are other counties doing, or why are we? And I think it has to do with our sense of community as well. Back when they were formed, really wanting to help a substandard road and try to bring service, you know. It's just that it's turned into something that's not easy to manage, or downright very difficult to manage. And so we're trying to find how to make that work. But,
And
yeah.
that point might help us with state funding too. Who knows?
Absolutely.
Keep
Yeah.
going with it.
Totally. Yep.
I think it's a feather in your cap that you're the only one.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Exactly. It's a good
Very
thing, not a bad
grateful.
thing.
Yeah.
Right. Anything?
You guys are the bosses, call an agenda.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Take care.
Thank you. Good idea about getting, let them figure out the problem, find a solution, get the liaison.
Oh, yeah. How you doing, Taylor?